Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to session 4 of Smart Start. I'm Jarrell Alder from the Division of Student Services and Development, otherwise known as the DSSD, and it is my absolute pleasure to again welcome you and guide you through this afternoon's program. So for persons that were here with us last week and are here again today, and perhaps were here with us over the last 3 weeks, we call you our troopers. We say welcome back. And of course, to those of you that are joining us for the very first time, on behalf of the entire DSSD team, I say welcome to your first year experience at the UWI St. Augustine campus. So today is a special day. It's the 4th and final session of our pre-orientation session, not FYE, but our pre-orientation session that you've come to know as Smart Start. And of course, as always, you have our commitment in doing our very best at meeting your informational demands. So what we are going to transition to at this point in the program is a Q&A. For persons that would have been here with us over the last few weeks, you would have engaged in some breakout sessions where we would have had members of our admissions team really walking you through that process. And we would have, of course, had presenters as well who would have engaged you on a number of topics. And so we know that there are still some burning questions. I do already see some hands being raised. If there are any questions specific to the presentation that was just shared, we'll take those questions now. But if you do have questions that relate to admissions and registration and gate, etc., like I said, we do have a panel that's here today that will field those questions. All right. So Jamila, I see you have your hand up, as well as Esther. If you have a question that's specific to the presentation that was just shared, we'll take that question now. Esther, do you have a question?
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to clarify something. I'm not sure if I heard it right. Is it that you said that you have two types of, two registration or orientation, one with the FYE and one with your career choice? Or I heard wrong?
Okay, so just to provide some clarity about the FYE 101 course that I introduced you to a short while ago, that is simply a course that you go onto My Learning to register for. Registration is very, very simple. Like I said, this is something that you can do at the same time you're registering for your other courses relative to your academic program. All right, so just so that you're not confused there, when you go onto My Learning, you will see the course there already. You don't have to search for it. You just simply register into the course. But like I said, in the next coming weeks, we will really run some more promotions so that would give you specifics as it relates to accessing the course. All right, but it's not conflicting with the registration process that you undergo for your academic courses. I hope that brings some clarity.
Yes, it did. But one more thing, and each student must register for this FYE course, right?
All right, must is a very strong word. It's encouraged. It's encouraged. Again, we are encouraging you to get the most of your university experience. So we encourage you to register for the course. There are no penalties if that's what you're leaning towards. No, there are no penalties if you don't. But like I said, it is certainly going to serve as a valuable resource as you go through this transition process.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Victoria, if you have a question specific to the presentation, we'll take it now. If not, we'll open the panel. We'll open the general Q&A. So Victoria, do you have a question for us?
Hi, good day. I was just wondering if it is the GUILE registration is compulsory?
The guild registration?
Yes, sorry.
All right, so guild registration, there is no formal registration process for that, but there is a compulsory guild fee, if that's what you're asking. Yes, there is a.
Okay, so even though you are not a part of it, because I have a lot of like other responsibilities, so I don't think I'll be able to be actively enrolled in it.
Right. So for clarity, Victoria, once you are a member at this, as the student population at the St. Augustine campus, you are a member of the guild. All right. So we have a guild council. That's an elected group of student leaders. All right. So they are elected each year. All right. Not each year. An election is run annually, and persons get a chance to run to become a guild councillor. This is separate and apart from being a member of the Guild of Students, which speaks to the wider student population. All right, so once you pay a guild fee, which is compulsory, you are naturally part of the guild. All right, you can then decide how far you want to go as it relates to your involvement in the actual guild council. I don't know if Dr. Charles wants to add anything.
Let me just add a little to that. I want to support all what Jarrell just said. That's correct, but you automatically become part of the student guild. In terms of the clubs that falls under the guild, is up to you. You could choose whether or not you be part of a club. And if you say you have a number of responsibility and you may not have the time, you may not be able to join a club now, but I hope that throughout your stay with us, you will find time to join a club and get involved, because that will really help you holistically. But in terms of the fee, it is compulsory. And because you're a student, when you become a registered student, you'll automatically be part of the Guild of Students. So I hope that clears it up for you.
Okay, yes, Cindy, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Charles. And Dr. Charles, thinking that now is a good time to open our general Q&A segment, because I know that we do have
Agreed.
questions.
Yes.
So students, just to give you a sense of how this will flow, well, we're seeing that you are already adhering to the protocol, which we appreciate, selecting the raise hand feature, and when called upon, you would offer your oral contribution. All right, so that's the method generally, just to ensure that we maintain some order. That's the method that we are going to follow to get through this Q&A. So with us, we have Dr. Justin Zephyrin, who would have shared with you last week on some of the things you should know as it relates to learning in the digital space. Dr. Zephyrin is here with us. Hello, Dr. Zephyrin.
Everyone, how are you?
Okay, great. So Dr. Zephyrin is here. Also with us is Mrs. Stephanie Lovelace from the Ministry of Education's Gate office. And for persons who would have been here with us maybe like 2 weeks ago, you would have seen Dr. Lovelace, Mrs. Lovelace, sorry. Mrs. Lovelace, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Okay, wonderful. With us as well is members of the admissions team. We have our assistant registrar for admissions with us, Ms. Simone Roberts, who you would have been engaging with as well over the last 3 weeks. Ms. Roberts, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Order. Good afternoon to the participants.
Okay, wonderful. And we also have with us from Student Accounts, I believe she's here. I am hoping that she is. Lisa, are you here with us?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Okay, wonderful. So Lisa is also here with us from the for persons who were here a few weeks ago, you would have engaged with Mrs. Gooden from Student Accounts, who would have facilitated some of your questions. All right. So we would have had some questions submitted to us via email. And one of the first questions, Dr. Zephyrin, some persons would have expressed missing last week's session. And so one of the questions is relative to explaining what persons can anticipate in the online classroom come September. So we know that we might possibly be doing a virtual kind of operations. So just to just give us a sense of what persons can anticipate as it relates to classes and how that would run.
Sure, no problem. Well, because we may be going virtual, more than likely for semester one, you can definitely expect classes to be run remotely or delivered remotely. And because of that, my learning is your friend. All right, My Learning is your friend. You want to make sure that you get access, that first of all, you register for your courses in in Banner, and then that you have access to the My Learning platform. Thereafter, you would need to ensure that you, very early in the semester, you should have an idea of your schedule of classes, tutorials, and that sort of thing. Now with tutorials, you could be a little more flexible, yeah, because you get to make your timetable specific to you. So keep that in mind. So you want to make sure you have that, and that you set aside time every week, or at least a couple hours every day, to go through your course sites. You're online, because remember, you're not going to class like a physical classroom anymore. So you want to be mindful of that, that you put aside a couple hours a week for each course. And that way you don't really fall behind or miss deadlines accordingly. So yeah, so you could expect that everything is going to be virtual. It's going to be a teething process, especially if you're not used to online or remote teaching and learning. So keep that in mind, and be mindful of the support services, as Mr. Alder and Dr. Charles mentioned earlier. You have the support services, not just academic, but all round or holistic support. So those are your friends. And those are the things that you could expect, and how to deal with those hurdles as you go forward next semester.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zephyrin. And we are noting some additional questions coming in, so I'll get back to you in one moment. But I want to acknowledge that Esther, one of our participants this afternoon, would have raised her virtual hand or digital hand. I'm not sure which is the right term to use. But Esther, if you are there and you still have a question, feel free to direct your question at this time.
Okay, so someone in the group asked if the classes will be online, right? But the gentleman, well, Sir just said that classes will be virtual. So what happens in a situation where the SOE is lifted and everything is lifted and school goes back to physical? Are we going to stop halfway in the middle, stop being virtual, and then go back to be physical school in Trinidad and on campus?
All right, so Esther, that's quite a question. I will ask Dr. Zephyrin to provide as much information as he has, because I know that the situation is very fluid. I think that we can all appreciate as now, but I will ask Dr. Zephyrin to weigh in on that. Dr. Zephyrin?
Sure, not a problem. Thank you so much for that question, first of all, Esther. With regard to the resumption of face-to-face teaching and learning, I think we normally do not do it in the middle of the semester to change so radically unless it's very early in the semester. So as it is thus far, we are going in the direction of online teaching and learning. Should things change, it would not mean that we resume right away. So you're going to get a couple weeks prior notice. Usually what we do, of course, first of all, we're guided by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. So of course, with that in mind, you're going to be guided by them in terms of the resumption of face-to-face teaching and learning, and also for international students who may need to travel, the borders and so on, because we know with this whole ongoing dispensation, a lot of borders are closed. So we are guided by those things. But let's say if those borders are opened and we can resume face-to-face teaching, it probably is going to be, if not in the early half of the semester, by second semester. So it's not going to be this week for next week or this week for next 2 weeks. You're going to get ample notice ahead of time. Keep in mind too that another reason that you wouldn't get the impromptu or sudden transition back to face-to-face is because the courses have been temporarily redesigned for remote delivery. So all of that will need to be taken into consideration before we officially transition to face-to-face teaching and learning. So the tentative answer is that more than likely semester 1 will be virtual and semester 2, depending on how things go, we may revert to face-to-face. But of course, all of this is just tentative, and we're guided by the government and the way things go with this current dispensation. Yeah.
Okay, so 2 other questions before you move on.
Sure.
So you said that we the students have to make our own timetables, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do
Yes.
we do this every single week, or once you make it for 1 week, that's it for your entire semester?
Good question. Good question. So when you make it for the beginning of the semester, let's say the first week of your semester, first to second week tops, that's it for the rest of the semester. And the semester goes from September all the way till December. So your regular you basically come up with a schedule that is convenient to you. Now, some things you may not be able to change. For example, there are certain lecture or plenary times that are standard, but the tutorial times are you have options to choose from. So based on let's say you have lectures, mandatory lectures. Now, lectures are usually mandatory. You might have 2 lectures on a Monday and 3 lectures on a Wednesday. All right. Then you might have tutorials. Now, tutorials are usually 1 hour segment, 1 hour sessions, but they're more practical or hands-on. So with that in mind, let's say you're doing 5 courses, you have two lectures on a Monday, 3 lectures on a Wednesday. Then you might probably want to choose your tutorial time because you have options there to work around those mandatory lecture times. So for example, you might want to put your tutorials on a Thursday and Friday, yeah, or a Tuesday and Thursday. And so you kind of get Friday to work on things, other assignments and so on that you need to work on. But that would go for the entire semester. So once you plan your schedule or your timetable, then that is something you want to stick to for the most part. Maybe make minor adjustments here and there, but at some point in time, you're gonna have to stick to it for the rest of the semester.
Okay, and the tutorials are pre-recorded sessions? I was asking if the sessions are pre-recorded or if it's live sessions. And you mentioned about the second semester being physical according to what happens with the government. So when it is we are giving the notice, then we would have to organize whether it be on campus accommodation or for persons who live in Tobago, like myself,
right,
or off campus.
Okay, so in a case like that, well, let me answer the first question first. The tutorials are usually not pre-recorded, they're live. So they might be, tutorials would be sessions where you might have to do activities that would build or reinforce what was introduced in the lecture, right? It's also that space where you can ask questions and get that individual attention a little bit. So you can really master some of the concepts and the different things that were introduced in the module or the session for that particular week. All right, so just think of the tutorials as more hands-on, more individual attention, yeah, more practical. All right, so that's that. So you would have like activity sheets, or activities that you would have to do during that session, or sometimes you might have to do those activities beforehand, and then you go through those problems in the class to vet them basically. All right, so it takes different forms, but the common ground is the same. The whole point of a tutorial is to give you more of that individual attention, that more hand-holding part of it. The next question I think you mentioned was the accommodation when we transition to face-to-face teaching and learning. Now I can't say for sure, but more than likely, if we transition to a face-to-face context, well, first of all, that will be taken into consideration before the university campus sets an official date and sends an official notification for the resumption of face-to-face teaching and learning. All right. With that said, of course, the hope is when we resume full-fledged face-to-face teaching and learning, then the different accommodations would have to be provided at some point in time. All right, so I know that the university campus, the stakeholders and the senior management, they will be considering these things before releasing an official statement and setting an official date regarding the resumption of face-to-face teaching and learning. All right.
Okay, so one more question. And is tutorial groups smaller than the mandatory lecturer groups?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tutorials, just to elaborate on that very briefly, tutorial, while the lectures might be, let's say, you might have 60, 80, 100 persons in the class, for example, in some cases even larger. In tutorials, you tend to have usually 10 to 15, maybe 20 persons for the most. So you work, sometimes you might have to work in pairs or in groups. So it's a lot more compared, let's say if you have a lecture, that might be 200 plus students. You know, you could kind of, you wouldn't be able to catch everything or really understand everything, right? So in a case, the lecture might be able to introduce you to different concepts or introduce you to the module that you're going to be exploring for a particular time. But the tutorial is where you kind of go through with a fine-tooth comb and really work on mastering that content.
Thank you, Dr. Zephyrin, and thank you, Esther. I know Dr. Charles is here with us, and Dr. Charles wanted to add as well. Dr. Charles?
Thank you, Jarrell. Esther, I just wanted to support what Dr. Zephyrin was saying in terms of being notified of when you're going to come back on campus. Trust me, we will give you enough notice. It really will not be now. For now, you'll be given maybe a whole semester. You know, you will be given enough time, because we too have to transition back to either a combination of face-to-face and online or just face-to-face. In terms of accommodation, the same thing will apply. You will be given notice way in advance so that the halls will be ready for you and you will be guided, right? So you'll not be told, yes, we back online in a week and you scrambling to get online. No, it will be seamless, and we will ensure that you're prepared both in your academic space as well as your student support space. So I just wanted to add that.
Okay, Miss, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Charles. Cindy and Jamila, I am noting that your hands are raised. We'll get to you in one moment. I am also looking at the chat, and I see that we have some questions coming in about student fees. So I know that Ms. Lisa Ali from our Students Account section at the Bourgeois at the UWI St. Augustine campus is here with us. So I'm inviting Ms. Ali with us. Are you there? Yes, she is here. Hello and welcome. All right.
Good afternoon.
So we would have introduced students to student fees, of course, the compulsory fees, and just giving them a comprehensive account of what that entails. We know that there are still some areas that are hazy, so we're hoping that you can just weigh in a bit more, specifically as it relates to the composition of fees, as well as timeline, and perhaps even touch a little bit on the payment plan.
Sure, not a problem. So for students, for each academic year, the three main category of fees that you will have for us would be your compulsory fees, your tuition fees, as well as your hall fees. But given the situation with the pandemic right now, the hall fees may not be that applicable because we only have one functioning hall at the point in time. Your compulsory fees, it comprises a lot of other fees, and it's what we can refer to as your administrative fees. It would include the guild fee. It would include ID card, the issuing of your first ID card. It would include your caution money, the student group health plan, and then you will have a personal accident insurance, and then you have student amenities fee. All of these fees are non-refundable with the exception of your caution fee. Now you can only get your caution fee back from the moment you have been deemed as graduated or your status has changed from active to inactive due to graduation. So it's really upon completion of your entire program that we will allow you to be refunded your compulsory fees. With respect to the tuition fees, it's really on a per credit basis. So to calculate your fees, it really depends on the amount of courses you will be doing for a particular semester. And that information will be given to you once you go through the process of receiving academic advising. And that's where you'll be given more information on what are the courses you can do for the particular semester. The payment plan that is being offered, the campus is actually introducing a new module, a payment plan module with effect August 2021. So you guys have the opportunity to share that experience with us. It's a system that is going to be automated, fully automated, and automated in the sense that you would have control over what happens on your payment plan. So enrollment in the payment plan, or fee pay as we call it, is mandatory. And it is mandatory for the simple reason, if you are to gain financial clearance, you have to enroll in fee pay. Now, just to explain, or to reiterate if it was already discussed in the last sessions, financial clearance is really your key to your online access. Or even when we do revert to a face-to-face sort of campus, it will also be your access to a lot of services provided on campus, such as the sporting facilities, gym, tennis. That financial clearance allows you to be issued your ID card. It allows you access to library services. And most importantly, as Dr. Zafran would have been reiterating to you, my learning is very important. My secure area is very important. So financial clearance is what guarantees you getting access to your My e-learning and thereby attending your classes and tutorials and your exams, more importantly. So for this payment plan, we're going to have two categories of students. We would have what we call non-sponsored students and sponsored students. Sponsored students refers to persons who are receiving any sort of funding, whether it be from a government or another third-party source. So it could be if you're receiving GATE funding, if you were granted a national scholarship, or if you're from another country and you are being given financial assistance or a grant from your government, that will also deem you as a sponsored student. If you are a staff dependent and you are receiving a waiver of tuition, you will also be considered a sponsored student. Non-sponsored students will be those persons who are not being covered by any sort of third-party funding, and you will be covering your fees for yourself. So the installments will be 3 installments per semester, with the exception of the summer. Summer is a shorter time frame, so we will only allow 2 installments. So 3 installments, they are not equal installments. It depends on the particular category that you fall into, whether you're a sponsored or a non-sponsored student. But the information on this plan is actually going to come at you very soon, because there is an extensive marketing campaign that is being prepared for you. So it will answer all of your questions. It would give you videos and insights into how you can enroll in the plan, what exactly the plan involves. It will also have a very extensive frequently asked questions, and of course any questions or concerns that you have with enrollment or carrying out the enrollment, you can feel free to reach out to us. But again, all of that information will come to you very soon via marketing. So look out for it. It's going to be shared on your portals. It's going to be shared on all social media platforms as well. So you guys can take a look at that. I'm not sure if there are any other questions, or if I answered everything there for persons.
All right, so Jamila and Cindy, I know we would have had your hands would have been up for a while. So let's see, Jamila, would you like to ask a question at this time?
Hello again, good afternoon. So I have one question for Miss Lisa and another question directed to the person from Gates. So Miss Lisa, but in terms of the tuition fees and all of that, right? I know you covered most of the questions that I had planned to ask, but the one question that I wanted to know is that on the website, I saw that there is a booklet, a fee booklet for 2020 to 2021. Now, would those costs that are listed out on the booklet, would that still be suitable for our year as well, or there are changes in it?
So no, what is listed there is applicable still for the upcoming academic year 2021-2022. The updates on that booklet, you will pretty soon see a 2021-22 booklet being posted online, and the updates would simply be for those programs where we would have recently received approval for gate funding. Those would be the additions that you will see on that booklet.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Ms. Lisa.
Cindy, are you there? If you are muted.
Yes, I'm here. Good afternoon, everyone. My question, I don't think it relates to anything here in particular, but my question is, given the lockdown and the courses that I plan to do, I was planning to do some reading, and I went through the course outline for some of the courses that I plan to do, but there are 3 courses that has no course outline. So I was wondering where I can find it.
Okay, this sounds very faculty specific, Cindy. I'm not sure if Dr. Zephyrin, if there's anything you'd want to add to help Cindy resolve this. If not, we can definitely provide that support afterward. Dr. Zephyrin?
Sure. Well, one thing I can say is that course outlines, if you're speaking for next semester, course outlines wouldn't really, official course outlines may not be issued officially just yet, because, you know, they always go through a sort of teething, well, not teething, but tweaking, you know, and you know, so it's subject to change, basically. If you have them now, that's really good, but they become officially the course outline for that, for whatever particular courses, by August, right? By mid-August, late August. All right. So when you see it in My Learning and you get that, you see your course outline. So it's usually at the top of the course site. That is where you would get that official course outline. Now, if you are already in possession of a course outline, that's really good because it gives you, you know, a little bit of a head start. But of course, like I said, it'll be subject to change. All right.
I understand.
Yeah. So the official course outlines would probably be issued closer to the end of August, beginning of September, when the courses are really being delivered.
Okay.
Because there are things that would need to change, for example, due dates, submission deadlines, you know, and, you know, different tweaks here.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, and my other question is, just one more question. I was accepted part-time, but I would like to change to full-time. What do I need to do?
Mr. Aldo, can I answer that, Dr. Zephyr?
Sure.
Right, so you just need to send an email to admis, ADMIS.
Yeah, I did that already.
Okay, well, then your application will be updated and you will get a revised offer letter soon.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Ms. Roberts, and thank you, Celine. I see that we have a question from Rayette. I hope that I pronounced that correctly. Ms. Rawlings.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, you did. Good afternoon, everyone. This is a question for Ms. Ali regarding fee payments. Ms. Ali, in the offer letter I received, it stated that all fees are to be payable to Republic Bank, St. Augustine branch. However, given the changes in the banking operations and the walk-in clients that they're allowing, could these fees be payable via direct deposit through online banking?
Yes, it could. And we have several options of payment methods available to students. And the one that we're actually advising or pushing students to utilize is the use of the online payment through FeePay, and that is accessible through your portal, your student portal. Now, when you go to register and you go through that entire process of selecting your courses and printing your fee sheet, the third step under there would actually be to enroll in FeePay. And that area allows you to pay. It allows you to pay using credit cards, so it could be Visa or MasterCard. If you do have an updated debit card from your bank, which is the ones that carry the chip debit cards, you can also use that in the online facility. And with that, it updates your account within 24 hours. You can also, if you have online banking and you so wish to use that method, you are allowed. We will just provide you with the account number. And once you do your transaction and you process the transaction completely, all you will be required to do is just send us a screenshot of the transaction being completed so that we can allocate it accordingly to your account.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. When you say send the screenshot, which email account am I sending this to?
So I wouldn't give you information on where to send it just yet, because all of that in terms of workflow will be fleshed out and will be introduced to you via the marketing campaign that we have set out for students, because it's a new process. So we want to just make sure that everything flows at the same time.
Got you. Okay.
More information will be available soon on that, right?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Ali. I see we have some questions coming in regarding GATE. Melissa, do you have a question for us? We have Mrs. Lovelace online.
Yes. Hi, good day. Just wanted to clarify in terms of the fees. There's a part based on the faculties, I guess it's for each faculty, where it says books or learning material, 8,000. Is this mandatory? This is for Ms. Ali, actually.
So I wouldn't say it's a mandatory fee. What that booklet is designed to do is to help you determine what the cost of a particular year would be for you. So whenever you're doing your financial planning, you at least know how much you have to allocate. So the 8,000 that you're referring to is an estimated cost, and it depends on what material your lecturers would like you to access for that particular academic year. But it is not mandatory, because again, with the online environment, there may be different or alternative arrangements for you to access your online resources.
All right, thank you. And one more question pertaining to the payment of fees. Since I'm funding myself, I missed the part of how the student payment plan will work out.
Sure. So what I had mentioned was there are just two categories of students, or plans, if you'd like to call it that. So the first will be non-sponsored, and then the second will be sponsored. But in your case, you are funding yourself, so you will be considered a non-sponsored student. And non-sponsored simply means that you are not accessing any sort of funding from a third-party source, whether it be from GATE scholarships or even your job is funding you, right? So you will be considered non-sponsored. And once you enroll in that plan, the plans itself, they are designed in such a way to be self-explanatory. So from the initial enrollment, you're going to see the different partitions. It's 3 installments per semester. So you will see the due dates of each installment, and you will also see the amount that is due for that particular installment.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Ali. I am noting some questions coming in the chat regarding the appropriate time to apply for the GATE program. Mrs. Lovelace, can you weigh in here? And we'll then take questions from Anderson, Brittany, Victoria, and Celine. Mrs. Lovelace, do you want to weigh in at this time on the appropriate time to apply for the GATE program? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Applying for GATE for a new student in this current academic period is really an ongoing process. What matters to GATE, what is critical to us, is the fact that the student must be fully accepted into the program of study. So for students who have received what is called a provisional acceptance or an unconfirmed acceptance letter, it would not be wise for you to apply for GATE funding now. Those who have been fully accepted into the program, I am aware that most MBBS students, for example, some engineering, and a couple others have been fully accepted into their program of study. They can go ahead and proceed to apply for GATE funding. There are some students, for example, students who have applied for actuarial science, we are also aware that they have not been fully accepted as yet. These students should ideally wait until they have received their complete acceptance letter stating that they have been accepted to read for the particular program as a national of Trinidad and Tobago, and then apply.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Lovelace. Anderson, do you have a question for us?
Pleasant good afternoon. My question is, in terms of classes, what's the difference between part-time students and full-time students? How it will be handled?
Thank you, Anderson. I know that Ms. Roberts and Mr. Jones are here. Mr. Jones, do you want to take this question?
Sure. The difference between a part-time student and full-time there's no difference in when the classes are being held, right? So you'll be sitting in the same class with full-time students. The only difference is, as a part-time student, you're limited to a certain amount of credits per semester, right? So you wouldn't be able to pick up a full load like a full-time student of five classes per semester. You may be limited to 3. So that's the only difference that you would have, right? In the past, we had evening university, but that's now been kind of phased out. So as I said, for part-time and full-time students, the classes are basically the same time. So that has nothing to do with the timing of the classes and stuff like that, traditionally how it was before. So I hope that answered your question.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Anderson. Leslie Ann, you have a question for us?
Hi, I actually have 3. Okay,
Sure.
so with regards to when I was looking at the booklet, the financial booklet that is, I think Ms. Lisa would have addressed part of my concerns, but I still wanted to get some clarification as to, I'm seeing exam fees payable by sponsored students. Is that also applicable to students who are not sponsored?
Remind me who asked the question.
Leslie Ann.
Leslie Ann. Okay, so the category of or the aspect of the booklet that you're looking at is way down to the back, right?
Correct.
Good. So that portion is really for special instances. So it can be for persons who are international or local students and they have varying circumstances. So it could be that you're writing an exam only, or it could be that you are specially admitted. So it really depends on what the situation is. But
okay,
for now, what should be of interest or would be more to the front of the booklet as it pertains to your respective faculty. So if you are applying for the Faculty of Engineering, you can look under the designated area for the Faculty of Engineering, and all the information there will be what is applicable to you for the particular semester.
Okay. My second question, I have already applied for funding because I'm funding this myself. I've already applied through a loan process and that has been approved. Now, my thing is, I already applied for the first year. Can I pay all of the funds up front for the first year? And do you all have ACH where I could just wire the money from my account straight to UWI's account?
So to answer the first question, yes, you're welcome to pay the tuition in full if your circumstances allow you to do that. And for the second part, yes, one of the methods of payments that we have available is through online banking. So it's just a matter of you plugging in the university's account number, completing a transaction, and then sending us the proof of payment.
Okay. My third question may not be relevant to you, but someone just asked what's the difference between a part-time and a full-time student. Now, again, I am a working person, and we were just told that, you know, we would be in classes with full-time students and so forth. So that's not an issue. My thing is, as a part-time person being employed during the hours of 8 to 4, is it that at one time I may have to come to a class that is like 9 o'clock in the morning, or do classes run from 5 to 8 p.m.?
Thank you. Thanks for that question, Leslie. Dr. Zephyrin, I'm not sure if you'd want to respond to this, or perhaps a colleague from or a team member from the admissions office might be able to provide some insight to Leslie Ann.
So, okay. As far as I know, Leslie Ann, I think that's a really good question between part-time and full-time students. Now, one of the things that was recently mentioned by my colleague there is that the evening categorization has kind of been phased out. So it is likely that, yes, if in some cases, just to be totally honest, you may have instances where you have to attend classes at particular hours, but generally, once you're deemed as part-time, you have some flexibility there. All right, so to say that you will always have classes like from 9 to 11 and that sort of thing, usually we have classes for full-time students and part-time students, most cases. All right, so you will not necessarily have to always leave your job on a Tuesday from 9 to 11 to be at that class. In most cases, especially when it's a large class, they normally have a class in the morning at one point in time in the week, and then another class in the afternoon or evening at another point in the week. Added to that, now that things are remote, it gives you some sort of flexibility, because now things can be obviously well recorded from a previous session, and then you can just view the recording shortly thereafter. So hopefully that answers your question. I'm not sure if anyone...
Anela, do you have a question for us?
Oh yes, good afternoon. Well, I was going to ask the same thing that the lady asked before. And in regards to what Mr. Zephyrin said, but how the evening classes would be phased out, and we could always set it back because it will be recorded, right? But I heard from a friend who used to attend UWI that's how you get marks for attendance. So if it is, we are working and it is 9 to 11 and we are unable to attend, will we lose marks for not attending that session because we would have been at work?
Case like that, and thank you for that question as well. In a case such as that, there are two things. One, and I think I mentioned it in the session last week, you want to make sure you alert your lecturer to that situation immediately, yeah, as soon as the semester begins. That, listen, this is the circumstance, these are the circumstances. You know, I may not be able to, if it is that at all, that you have a situation where you might need you may not be available because of a work obligation, then you need to let your lecturer know. That's first thing. So at least the lecturer would know, especially if attendance is being graded, that something can be worked out, yeah, between you and your lecturer. Added to that, in this new dispensation, we have a situation where, well, not a situation, we've configured things in such a way where it's not just attendance. Before, in the face-to-face environment, you would actually have a rule or whatnot, a logbook or something of that sort, that the lecturer or the lecturer assistant will, the assistant lecturer will record the attendance, or even in tutorials, they might record the attendance in those smaller sessions. In the face-to-face environment, however, what we also do is not just grade in terms of attendance, but you grade participation. So it might be not necessarily participation in the class itself. It might also be participation in asynchronous activities, such as an online discussion forum that in my learning that would occur after the lecture. So even though the lecture will be recorded and all these different things, we are very mindful that, you know, with this current dispensation, there are connectivity issues that some persons could encounter. And so in a case like that, you want to let your lecturer know. And then two, you want to make sure you participate in the subsequent activities, the asynchronous activities, such as the discussion forums, the practice quizzes, and all these different things to make sure that you are still graded, for those things. Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that it's not just attendance, but it's attendance and participation in this current dispensation. All right.
Yes, I have a question in regards to the GATE means test. I saw that it asked for something along the lines of the salary and the income of the people in the household. And like, for example, your cousins and uncles and aunts, everyone in the household, right? And while I do live with my relatives, I don't benefit financially from any of the members in the household. So I wanted to know, how would that affect my GATE acceptance? And I also don't live at my mailing address. So how will all of that work?
Thank you, Brittany. I know that the means test is very specific and personal, as advised by Mrs. Lovelace, but I'll ask Mrs. Lovelace to share any information at this time that she can. Mrs. Lovelace?
Yes, thank you. Gerald was quite correct in that your means test information is very personal, and we prefer to keep it as confidential as possible. I would like the student to send us an email via the gate.info email address, and we would forward it to the supervisor of the means test unit, who would then provide her with the necessary information, or even adjust or do whatever needs to be done to assist you in this regard.
Aliyah, do you have a question for us?
Good afternoon. Yes, I have a question. So it is forwarded to Ms. Lovelace. So from previous sessions, it was mentioned the applications for GATE online, right? But I visited the GATE website and I saw the required documents. And now I want to know, well, what is the next step? Should I email the documents to the email address that was on the website, or to get the GATE ID?
Mrs. Lovelace?
Okay, we would have shared at our last session the link for TT Connect. A student who has not yet received an e-service ID, you are required to contact the TT Connect website. We would have shared that with you all, with Jarell. Maybe you can share it again to those students who might not have had access to that information. In order for a student to apply for GATE funding, he or she must have an e-service ID, which you acquire from the TT Connect service. Once that e-service ID has been received, then you can go ahead to apply via the GATE e-service system, and you will be guided page by page with all of the information that you need. And for new students, you are required to submit your national ID, back and front, or passport, your acceptance letter, and your birth certificate. Those are the 4 major items that you need. Our FAQs page also guides you on all of the documents that you need to supply us with in order for us to assess you under the means test system. That is also critical, and as I said earlier, it's also very, very confidential. So we try not to have that as an open forum or give you too much on the means test as an open forum scenario. Gerald, if you would allow me, there were 2 questions in the chat that I would like to just for the purpose of this session and to allow everyone to understand as well. One question was, can I apply for, does academic advising, do I apply for GATE before or after academic advising? My response to that is your academic advising does not affect your GATE. Your GATE application is strictly related to your tuition, your funding for tuition expenses, and it technically does not really have anything to do with your academic advising. That is something that you should reach out to your admissions or your faculty for assistance in that regard with respect to academic advising. And the other question was about how long it takes to get GATE clearance. That is dependent solely on you, the student. There are different statuses or stages to the application, and there are times when we ask students for additional information for one reason or the other. You have 14 calendar days to respond. If you, the student, does not respond to any queries that we send back to you, then you would have some issues there. The general turnaround time for an application takes maybe about 6 to 8 weeks, but again, it is dependent on the student. Once you submit all of the required documentation for us, and your application is what we call a clean application, where you don't have too many issues, then you would be fine within a few weeks. And you would know your status, your gate status at that point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Lovelace. Parvati, are you here with us? Do you have a question?
Hi, yes. I'm not sure who it directed to, but how do we know when we fully accepted into the faculty? Because I already have an acceptance letter and well, the package, but I'm not sure if it's a provisional one or if it's fully acceptance.
Right. Hi. Once you have gotten that package and the letter states that you're fully accepted to the university, you're fully accepted. If it had any conditions on that letter, you would know. Right. So you would state it clearly if there's any conditions. So if the offer letter has no conditions, that means you're a fully accepted student.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
I note that we have just about 15 minutes left, so let's see how many questions we can get through. Victoria, was that a question that you asked earlier, or do you have a current question to ask? Because I see that your hand is also raised.
Hi, good day again. I got one of the questions answered by Ms. Ali. Thank you. My second question, though, was not answered just yet, and it's directed to Mrs. Lovelace. I want to know, in the event where I have to defer my acceptance into the university, and let's say that my gate approval was already done, the funding was already approved, can I defer that funding or will I lose it?
That's a very good question. What you would need to do in an instance like that is you would need to provide us with a letter from the university that indicates clearly that you have deferred your program and to when, which date you intend to start that program. What we would then do is we would not pay for you. Once the university has confirmed that you did not attend any of the classes and we do not become liable to pay for you at that point, then you would be fined. If for any reason you have attended the classes, and you have participated in you have been delivered to, so to speak, then there is a different way that the bursary would look at it. They would approach it differently, and at that point, you would have to speak to the bursary before we make any stops to a payment on your behalf.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Lovelace. Celine Danpat, do you have a question for us?
Hi, good evening. My question is relating to GATE. So in May, I had applied for GATE, but in one of the recent sessions, I heard that we'd have to wait till July. And I got recently, last week, I got a means query. So I want to know if I should like respond to it or if I should redo an application.
Thank you for that question. Let me start by telling you that the reason why we used July 1st as a stipulated date for applications, that is because we were advised that not all students would have been fully accepted by then, and we are familiar with the process. We do know that the process for acceptance into the university is an ongoing one. Once you have been accepted, and clearly you have been accepted, your application, and you did apply, your application was processed. The means query is critical to determining the percentage that the government will pay on your behalf. You should reply to that means query as soon as possible. However, if you are experiencing any problems with attaching documents, uploading documents to the system for the means query, then you should send us an email via the gate.info site as quickly as possible. Like the other parts of the process, you have 14 days within which to respond to that email. Thereafter, your application could be in a bit of a, you would be in a bit of a trouble at that point in time. In terms of the percentage you would be rated. Yeah?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lovelace. Thank you, Celine. So we have just about 10 minutes to go. I have some direct questions that I think would benefit everyone as it relates to the admissions process. So persons have received their offers and are wondering what's next. I know that we would have covered this in one of our earlier sessions, but if I will ask a member of our admissions team to just quickly summarize what are some of the steps that persons can anticipate having to or some of the actions that will be required of persons now as we're entering into July, and we have a tentative start date of, I believe it's August 23rd. Registration should be opening on the campus. So if we can just briefly summarize some of the things that persons can anticipate with the admissions process, and just now that they have their offers, what's required of them at this point. So I'll ask someone from the admissions team to weigh in at this time. Mr. Jones.
Good afternoon, everyone, again. Just to summarize, the month of July, I guess, the best thing you need to do is, if you are fully accepted, apply for your gate assistance. So get that out of the way, right? In the month of August, faculties will be putting up information concerning orientation and academic advising. Keep checking your website for that information. Attend your advising, the academic advising sessions, your orientation, get familiar with everything that's going on, all the information that's going on there. Of course, DSSD will have more information and more programs that are going on for UE Life around that time as well, Jarrell, I'm correct? Right? And let's do your course selections from late August. Right, so that's basically it. So let's keep informed, keep checking our website, keep checking your email if we have any new information that's going out to you. And hope you all enjoy the start of the new semester.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. You mentioned academic advising, and I'll ask Dr. Zephyrin to just briefly assure students what that particular exercise covers. But I also wanted to just expand a bit on what Mr. Jones said as it relates to the timeline. So we're heading into July, and we do have some orientation activities lined up for you, as Mr. Jones would have mentioned. And of course, you would have also seen some of those details being shared with you earlier in the presentation. So you have your offer letters, everything is cleared as of now. And so participating, unless you have, I guess, some unique things to get sorted, some unique challenges. Of course, there are offices that you will engage with for different things, including admissions and student accounts, etc. And once you have done all of that, you're ready to take on orientation. And like I said, we do have those activities coming up for you from July all through the first semester. So Dr. Zephyrin, I know that academic advising is a relatively new concept for some of our new students. And I just wanted to ask you briefly as it relates to that academic preparedness, how that particular academic advising exercise facilitates that.
Right, no problem at all, Gerald. Thank you so much for that. First of all, the academic advising is well, we know it's very important, but let me kind of just specify where it might fall in the process along the way, because I see a lot of questions from what I'm hearing thus far seem to be, trying to get a proper understanding of the entire process. And I know Ms. Lovelace mentioned the relationship between academic advising and your GATE application, correct? So just to bring some clarification to that, now academic advising is something that you want to make sure you get as soon as possible, even before registering for your courses in Banner. So the process, and any of my colleagues could chime in, the process is, of course, once you get your approved, your confirmation letter and whatnot, your next step, major step, would be to get academic advising. And there's a reason I'm saying this. You want to get academic advising because part of the academic advising aim is to really guide you in terms of the courses that you need to register for. So it would avoid you having to do overrides and, you know, switch courses and all these different things, or registering for the wrong course and so on. So it's advisable to get that academic advising even before you go to register for your courses. All right, that would really lend for a more efficient process and a less stressful process on you as well. So you want to get your academic advising. Your academic advising, normally per faculty, they have specific days for different, I think for the larger faculties, they do it based on alphabetical order, some faculties. Others that are not as large, they have specific days and times, all right, for the academic advising part of it. So once you get that, they will tell you what sorts of courses you need to do, or even if you need, like I think I saw someone who wanted to switch from one choice to another choice, you know, you might want to get some academic advising as far as that is concerned. I know when I was an undergrad, when I was an undergrad, I needed that sort of academic advising to switch because I got into my first choice, but I wanted to do the program that was really my second choice or third choice or something to that effect, because I wasn't quite sure where I wanted to what I wanted to pursue when I was applying. So what I did, I got academic advising, and I was able to get some guidance in how to navigate through that transition, you know, what correspondences need to be sent, who I need to contact, that sort of thing. And once you get that, you know, it really makes things a lot clearer for you going forward, because then you go to Banner, you get, first of all, clearance to go and complete your application, your registration in Banner. You know what courses you have to register for. And then, of course, you could proceed to do the payment and all the other things, of course, GATE and everything that comes after that. So academic advising in that regard is very important, not just in terms of your program, but also in terms of your career path. One of the things that really helped me in academic advising as a student was not just switching a program, but I got advice in terms of, okay, if this is the career path you want to go in, then X program is more suitable for you. If it is that you want to go down a different career path, A, B, and C, then program Y is more appropriate or a better fit for you. So academic advising is not just for your immediate program, but it has implications for your career path, even long after you complete your degree. Does that, I hope that clarifies everything, yeah?
Thank you so much, Dr. Zephyrin. It certainly does.
Mr.
I know. Yes, sure.
Mr. Ola, Ms. Roberts.
Sure, Ms. Roberts.
Can I add something? Can I add something to what Dr. Zephyrin just said? So I want to support everything that Dr. Zephyrin just said in terms of academic advising and the role, the important role that academic advising plays when our students stay with us and even beyond, as Dr. Zephyrin said. But I just want to make that direct link between academic advising and your registration. Yes, because just want to let the participants in on our meeting today, our session today, to know that all new students have an academic advising hold on their record. Yes. And this will only be removed when they attend an academic advising session in their faculty. And then they can proceed to register, meaning select courses online, etc. So if you do not attend your academic advising session, the hold will remain, the academic advising hold will remain, and you will not be able to select courses online. Yes?
Thank you so much,
Ms. Roberts. It's very important.
Thank you so much, Ms. Roberts, for definitely placing that, putting that into perspective, and just reinforcing the importance of this exercise. I want to remind students, especially those that are in our Facebook group, we would have placed a link earlier today asking you to submit questions. We know that we do have limited time today, but that link will still be up, so feel free to submit your questions via the form that's there, and we will direct those questions to the appropriate persons so that you can get a timely response, specifically for those persons who may not have gotten specific questions answered today, but may want to get them addressed in the next few weeks. Additionally, we will, as usual, share with you contact information. The team at the UWI St. Augustine campus, we are here and ready to support you. So we are an email away. And this, of course, also includes the GATE office, as Mrs. Lovelace would have shared with you earlier. Engage with us, send us that email, and just stay with us so that we can provide the necessary support to you. So again, the link that was shared in the Facebook group, or even if you're not in the Facebook group, you have access to the FYE website. Feel free to just submit any additional questions that may come out from today's session. Dr. Charles, I know that you're still on with us. I don't know if there's anything else you'd want to share before we officially close.
Sure, Jarrell. Of course, students, we hope you enjoyed all 4 weeks of the session. We look forward to welcoming you in the new semester. Ensure that you take all the advice that you're given. Don't hesitate to send questions if you need information clarified. We'll be glad to answer. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all our stakeholders, all the professionals who sat with us and helped us through with this program. Ms. Lovelace, our admissions team, with Ninga, Garth, Kathy Ann, Ms. Roberts, of course, my team at the DSSD led by Jarrell Alder. I want to say a big thank you to that team with Aduke, with Lana, also with Esmond. And of course, Dr. Zephyrin, we can't forget you from Settle, all your support. We also have with us students accounts with Miss Ali. We also had Miss Gooden, sorry. I mean, it was just very, very valuable having you and the advice that you have given to our students. We could not have done it without you. So thanks again for joining us. Thanks for being with us for the last month. And students, we look forward to guiding you, supporting you, and helping you through and having a wonderful, holistic development at the UWI. I hope I have not forgotten anybody, because I'd like to call them out by name. So Jarrell, if I've forgotten anybody, please point it out to me. But students, again, congratulations, well done. And we look forward to partnering with you, with your learning, with your development, and with getting all your goals met at the St. Augustine campus, UWI. Thanks and welcome again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Charles. We do have a student assistant, as you would have known, that joined our team as well. And I think that this should also be inspiration to the students that are here.
Yes, oh yes.
Yes. Along with right now.
Yes.
So we want to say welcome to Chelsea as well, Dr. Charles. That's the only person that would have missed. So students, we are heading into July. We do have some activities. As we're saying, FYE does not stop here. In fact, pre-orientation has ended, but now we're really getting ready for the real deal, if we can call it that. All right, so ensure that you tell your friends as well, persons who are joining you in this first year that may not have joined our group just yet, to please become a member so that they can be kept abreast. Of course, like I said earlier, we do have that form where you can utilize that form to submit any questions that you may not have gotten answered today, and we will engage with the respective campus stakeholders to ensuring that your queries are resolved. Dr. Charles would have thanked the stakeholders, and we also want to say thank you to our students for participating. We truly do appreciate you making the UWI St. Augustine campus, in campus your choice, and through the FYE program, our promise to you is to ensure that you are prepared and that you are supported through this transition process. And more importantly, that we stimulate an excitement for learning as you embrace this new university journey. So thank you. We will continue, of course, the dialogue over the next few weeks. Continue to engage with us, and we'll see you again very soon as we kickstart our series of FYE events. So thank you and have a good afternoon, everyone.
I